So there's the one part right there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get your little your rails. And again, I cleaned these up and, you know, sanded them down a little to clean them up. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your one rail right here and pin it here. And in the back, I usually go even with the end of the motor bracket. So example, I don't have a frame rail here, but you can see that it's just right at the end there like that. Just to keep it, you know, nice and neat. There it is right there. And get the other one, place it next to it and position it in the same spot like I did the other one. And pin it. Then you could pin it up here to keep it from moving forward and back. So it's just to keep it from moving back and forth, see? Because if you didn't have those in there, they'd go forward as you're trying to move, you know, solder. And there's a, you know, chassis, the frame rails of the chassis. And then you could make sure that they're, you know, flush against your motor bracket like that. Make sure they're flush up against it as best you can. You don't want it to be crooked or nothing. Because these move around a little. And then what you could do also to keep them from moving side to side, you just pin them like that on the inside. And this is just saying if you get it, you know, I'm just lining it all up. So you line them all up. And what you're going to do is solder your side rails. And I'm going to do this side first. Just to start out. And you see there's a gap there. I don't know if you can see that. This camera sucks. I need to get a new camera. Next year, a new camera. A new iPhone camera. And then see how I moved it in. And make it more flush. And then put your pin right there. And you can put a pin here to kind of stabilize it to keep it from moving around, period. Like that. See, now it keeps it nice and flush there. Then you can move your motor bracket in too. See, now I moved the motor bracket in. Now it's nice and flush. And that's to do with this not being in also. So you want to put them in tight when you do the first one. So if you push this up against here, it's nice and flush. See, that's what you want. So now what I'll do is I will solder this section. And you can leave the axle out now because you're done soldering the tube, so you don't need the axle. And again, you're going to get... Let me get in here. I can get in here close. And you can see how that looks. Nice and flush there, right? I'm going to fire up the iron. Get our little iron pieces here. And as soon as that beeps, it's ready to go. You're going to put some flux here. You're going to get some solder. And make sure this is clean. Put some solder like that. A little bit more because it's the frame rail. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just tap it on there like that. God, you cannot see, can you? And you're going to let the solder flow with the, you know, by putting heat to it. And it will flow to the back of the motor bracket. You just got to keep heat on it. Try not to get it too close to your axle tube, because if you do that, then you may solder the axle on that, you know, the tube. But it should be fine as long as you're putting heat here. Probably a little bit too much solder. You see it's moving around a little. I just pushed it down a little. You could also get, because it will move around a little if you're trying to push it. So I usually will get it like a little, put this down like that to kind of hold it. And then let it cool. Whatever you miss, you could get. And there you go. And I got all the way back there, which is fine, as you can see. I hope you can see that, guys. There's that rail right there. So you're Want to make sure that when you look here that it's, you know, pretty flush too, you know, downward, and that the bracket is down to flush, like on the inside there. See, if it's like sticking up, you want to make sure these two are flat. That's why I used the file and kind of pushed it down to make sure they're flat. And if they're crooked or anything like that, it's no big deal. You could just heat it up again and move it around and manipulate it. That's what's nice about brass, what you could do. So there's the first rail right there. A little bit too much solder. Maybe I'll try a little bit less on the other side. And what I'll do is I will make sure this is flush on this side. And I will repeat the same process on this. I'm going to move that out of the way just so hopefully you can see it better. Hopefully my big hands and everything won't be in the way. And I'm going to put a bunch right there. I went a little excessive, but get my little file ready. At least I need to push it down and hold it. And I'll get my soldering iron. I'll use less solder this time. I went a little bit too much on the last one, so I'll use that much. And then what I'll do is, just to be sure that this doesn't move, I'll do this. Hope you can see this. I'll put heat. Go back here like that. Move back here, put a little heat. And wait for that solder to flow. It's just what I'm wanting, leaving more heat on there. And I can see the solder on the other side starting to kind of like, oh, I hope you can see that, what I'm doing there. All I'm doing is leaving heat on there. And that's it. I hold it down like that. Keep it holding down, let it cool. Leave my damn iron off. There you go. Now that was a lot less, was better. Excuse me. So you can see it flowed to the back there. You can see a little bit of the line. So it did flow there and, you know, get everything. That was a little bit too excessive. You can see how you could use a lot and a little. So you just kind of gauge yourself what you do and then check if it's flush. It looks flush there. See, doesn't look like it's the rail's like tipping up, and the back of the bracket looks flush against the jeweler's block. So it looks good. And then what you could do is, let me pan out. Woo! Let it cool, obviously, or you get your little cooling tool or spray bottle so you don't burn your digits. Spray it down, let it cool, and pick it up. And it's still warm. Now you can see underneath there how we got everything. See where the solder